You will never become a good chess player if you do the exact same thing that everyone else is doing. Because if you want to become exceptional at chess, that means that you need to be an exception. You need to be different from everyone else. You need to approach chess in a different way. And that is exactly what I am going to teach you in this video. I will teach you a new way of playing chess. And if you watch this entire video and you start using this in your games, you will see massive improvement and it will become so easy to beat most players. So what I will be teaching you is a thinking system, a strategy, a framework, I would like to call this, that you will be able to use in every single game you play. I will just demonstrate it here in a very simple way with a very simple opening, but you can use this strategy no matter what. So what I am doing for the opening is always the exact same. I want to keep it incredibly simple. I put one of my pawns in the center, I protect it with a different pawn, I develop my kingside pieces, and I castle. You can use what I am about to teach you with white, with black, no matter what opening, but I really enjoy playing these simple openings. All right, and our opponent just castled. As soon as we have castled, that is when we will start using this new play style, this new strategy. So what are we going to do? We are going to use a strategy which I call the CCTO strategy. This is basically a whole new play style that revolves around blunder prevention, spotting our opponent's blunders so we can win material, and then if we don't see anything spectacular, just playing a simple move to pass the turn back to the opponent, because we are not trying to win, we are not trying to attack, we are not trying to beat them. All we are trying to do is to not lose, to not blunder ourselves. They will blunder, and that is how we will win. So that is the strategy I will teach you here. So I will play knight to d2, they play knight to c6, and now I will really start explaining what to do. So whenever our opponent makes a move, the first thing that we need to do is blunder prevention. I call this sit on your hands. Literally, let go of the computer mouse, sit on your hands, look at the board. We need to figure out first what is the opponent doing. This is key. This is number one, blunder prevention. The simplest way to do this is to right-click the piece that they just played and to force yourself to do this. To draw the arrows, to visualize what is black trying to do. What would black do if they could make yet another move and I couldn't do anything at all? Well, they developed this knight. I think it might be interesting for them to go to b4, try to see if they can grab our bishop, because we don't really want to lose a bishop for a knight. Maybe they could also try to push the e5 pawn. They are somewhat preparing this. So these are two plans that I'm looking at that black could potentially play. We just need to look at this to make sure we are not blundering. So is this a problem that we need to solve? No. Okay, that means that we will go into the CCTO strategy. So this stands for checks, captures, threats, optimize. And we just need to look at possible moves in this order. The number one priority is we need to calculate every check that we have. We have a check, but it just blunders a bishop, so we won't play it. Then we need to look at every capture we have. It's still the same. Then we need to look at every threat. A threat is attacking a piece with a pawn, for example, or attacking a queen with a knight, threatening a checkmate, maybe, something like this. We don't have threats. That means we need to optimize, which in the beginning, most of the time, you will just need to optimize. Whenever we need to optimize, I am always looking at how can I improve my pieces, not my pawns, but my pieces. How can I improve my pieces or make a move with my e-pawn, d-pawn, or c-pawn? This is the strategy when we optimize. We move one of those blue pawns or we move one of those red pieces. And we just pass the turn back to the opponent, wait for them to make a mistake. Trust me, if they are below 1800, even below 2000, they will make a mistake every single game. So we don't need to try to force anything. Sit on your hands, blunder prevention first. They attack my bishop, I will go back. And this was actually my high level strategy here. Whenever I see they are trying to go for this knight move, I just make sure I can go back with my bishop. And this will actually help us. Because now in the future, we will have a bishop-queen battery with potentially a checkmate threat here along this diagonal. While, and the other way around, if you would put the queen behind the bishop, it's always a little bit worse. So this is a very interesting strategy. The opponent plays c5. So as always, we need to look at what are they trying to do. And c5 actually is a move that we do need to deal with. If I don't do anything, let's say I play a very passive move, we would never want to do this. We don't move this pawn. If I play a very passive move, they can take in the center. If I take with the knight, I'm helping them because they will be able to push. They got this whole attack going. The pawn starts rolling up the board. That's not what we want. If I take with the pawn, I will end up with this. This wouldn't be that great. Why? We have an isolated queen's pawn. And pawn structure is so incredibly important to think about when you are considering your moves. Right here, we have a problem. The problem that we have is that we have created for ourselves 3 pawn islands. We have the orange pawn island on the right, those are connected, the blue pawn island on the left, and then this red one in the middle is isolated. It's weak, and we will lose this one eventually if it comes to an endgame. Our opponent, however, has a very good pawn island here, and then a very nice pawn island here. So they only have 2 pawn islands. The player with the least amount of pawn islands is always strategically better placed, especially for an endgame. So a bit of high-level strategy here, pawn structure lesson, but this is important. They are threatening to create pawn structure problems. The simplest way to solve this is actually just to take that pawn. It looks a little bit strange because we help them to get the bishop here, but the bishop is not a good piece. There are 2 pawns already blocking this diagonal, so we don't have to worry about anything. All right, checks, they still don't work. Captures, yes, we could always exchange in the center, but I don't really want to do any equal exchanges. If I take, yeah, they have like so many different ways that they can recapture this. We would just be trading. We don't want to just trade for no reason. We want to keep the tension. The more tension we keep, the more opportunities we give them to blunder. So I see no checks or captures, but I see a threat. A very simple threat. We just attack the knight has to go back. And by doing this, we win a tempo, we chase away their piece, and we can continue with our game. Here, this is a little bit of an exception. You might be thinking, wait a minute, you are using these pawns, right? I mean, you said before that we only use the blue pawns. Yes. When we are looking to optimize, I want to focus on those blue pawns. When I am doing check, capture, threat, I can use whatever piece I want. So if it's to do a real threat, attack something, yes, I can move any pawn that I want. That's what I'm doing here, and that's also what I will do on the next move. Another threat. Threatening that bishop. So basically everything going amazingly well here to demonstrate this strategy. Okay, whenever the opponent plays like a retreating move like this, or blunder check is quite easy. We are not going to blunder here. There is not really anything going on. They just retreated. So we look for checks, not really working out, captures, threats. While one threat that you could consider is playing b5, but b5 is what I call overextending your pawns. We are pushing a little bit too far. The knight will just go here, and our pawn structure is not that solid anymore. We have to watch out that c4 doesn't drop. Everything collapses. So you need to use your brain. It's not because you have a check, capture, or threat that you play it. You need to use your brain as well. Okay, so no check, capture, or threat. So I will optimize. Well, actually, optimize, yes. I am looking at that queen c2 move. I think that this move is very interesting. We are potentially setting up a checkmate in the future. So I really like this move. Okay. They take on c4, and I will take back with the knight probably because we want to have this attack. By the way, if you think like, wait a minute, this position looks incredibly amazing, I would also like to have more games where I have my bishops, my queen, everything attacking the king side, where I can put rooks in the center and attack the queen. I am not just randomly inventing this. This is the exact opening that I always play, which works incredibly well with this strategy. This is an opening that almost no one uses. This is the Pegasus system opening. If you want to learn more about this opening, you can look into the Pegasus system. I have a book. I have a video course. If you want to learn more about this, just go to pegasuschess.com. Nobody really plays this opening, and it's just amazing. All right, but let's continue here. So they attack our knight. Okay. Is this a problem that we need to deal with? Yes. Well, yes, our knight is under attack, so we need to deal with this. However, even when our knight is under attack, we should still consider CCT, because we might have something, but this is dangerous. Whenever you are being attacked, it's usually best to just be safe and solve your problem instead of calculating an in-between move is what I call this. So a very safe move would be like maybe knight to e5, maybe knight to d2, maybe knight to b2. All of these moves would be incredibly safe. The only downside is if you don't look at the CCT, you might be missing some brilliant move, some genius plan that we could play. And I actually think that we do have a brilliant move here that we can play. So we have to consider the knight is being attacked, but I'm still looking at checks, captures, threats. We have this check and capture, which would be a checkmate if it wasn't for that knight being there. So why don't we try to remove this knight? Because the moment that the knight is gone, we have a checkmate. So I think that this move, I'm not sure, but I think this move would be a brilliant move. Since if they take our knight, we take their knight, and they cannot recapture this, otherwise they are checkmated. So in general, I am against playing moves like this when you are being attacked, but here it's quite simple to calculate. We just set up this, and it's basically a checkmate threat that we have, and it's very hard for them to deal with it. So here in this position, I think they realize that they are in trouble, so they move to the rook instead of capturing that knight. What I think they should have done really was capture the knight anyways. I capture, and then maybe they play g6, which blocks this diagonal, and then the game would continue something like take, and probably queen takes. And this was actually what I was expecting. Where we are up a pawn, we have a clearly superior position, we have the files for the rooks, diagonals for the bishop, we can activate the pieces, we are winning this for sure. I was a bit surprised by this move. So, check, capture, threat, while we want to eliminate this knight, because if we eliminate that knight, the queen can go in with a check. So this is working incredibly well. This king is in trouble. We did just win a pawn here, we just won a pawn, so this is good. It's not a checkmate because their rook move was actually quite smart. By playing their rook move, they basically created an escaping route for the king. The king can start escaping here. All right. Okay, so we have to find a good move. We need to look still for checks, captures, and threats, and we cannot forget, still keep an eye on this. This knight is still hanging, so yeah, we want to be careful with that. I'll just go through the sequence with you so you can practice this. So I was looking at this check, but this check would actually be a mistake. If we play this check, they move the king, and this is one of those in-between moves that would be terrible, because right now our queen is hanging and our knight is hanging. It's too much at the same time. We would be losing. So that doesn't work. Any captures that we have? Well, not really. I mean, this blunders a queen, and that's the only capture. Any threats that we have? Well, for threats, I want to look at, is there something unprotected that I could attack? Let's see, this rook is unprotected, and this knight is unprotected. So these two pieces could be a good target for an attack. Is there any way that we could attack these two pieces, or one of these pieces? Well, there actually is. I think the move bishop e4 is interesting. It's another in-between move. We are giving them our knight, but then we get their knight, and we have this bishop fork attacking both rooks at the same time. So we can play this. What we could also do is literally just move the knight, be safe, play it boring. That would also work probably. But this is interesting. If we have a check, capture, or a threat, we always need to look for it. Okay, so they move the queen, they solve the problem. And I really do think that it's time for us to move this knight. I mean, it's time for us to move this knight, because if you keep a piece hanging like this for too long, we are not Magnus Carlsen, right? We will blunder this eventually. So we have to be careful. So I'm looking into moving the knight. My favorite squares would be e5 or a5. The only bad thing is that that knight is just protecting everything. So both of those squares. Which is why I think CCT, check, capture. We have this capture. They take back, and now we can move the knight. And basically both of these squares are now interesting. When you have a choice like this that you need to make, which one is the best? It's the one that's most central. That's the general rule you can follow. If they were castled all the way here, maybe the blue square here, the blue square could be better. Right now, this is for sure better. It's more central, and it's also helping to set up an attack against the king. Okay. We have to watch out. The knight is under attack here by the bishop. Right now also by the queen. So again, we have to always sit on our hands first. What is black doing? Black is trying to win this knight. Okay. So we have a couple of things we could look at. I'm basically looking into the move knight g4. I think this is good. It fixes the problem of the knight. It also attacks the bishop. The only thing we have to be cautious of is that they could probably play queen takes a1. Looks strange, but they are getting 2 rooks in exchange for the queen. I would be okay with this position. I think that with these 2 knights and the queen there, I have some attack. But we do have to keep this in mind. I'm always thinking about what the opponent can do first. So I'm not sure if they will do it. No, they don't. But they could do this. So we want to be careful. Okay. Bishop on b7. What is this doing? It's threatening to take a knight. We don't really want to lose that knight because otherwise we have to double up our pawns. All right. Check capture threat. Well, this is a capture. And it also helps to maybe do some checkmating or something. So they capture back. So this is perfectly fine. And we still need to solve this problem that this knight is under attack. So what we need to do is we need to move it. So I'm going to move it to d4. But I think this is a very good example of this exact play style because we didn't do really anything super complicated here. We just followed the CCTO strategy and we are already up a pawn, which is good. Sit on your hands first. They attack, so we need to move. Let's just go to this square. Of course, we don't want to go back to that square and then just, lose. All right. And this is actually the single best example I could give for sit on your hands. So many players would go tunnel vision right here. They would move one of these rooks. They would do something else. And if you were to do that, you would be checkmated and won. Yeah, not good. Sit on your hands. Look, what are they doing? Don't ever forget this. Blunder prevention is #1. They are threatening checkmate. How can we stop it? I think we have queen h3. We also have pawn e4, which blocks the diagonal for the bishop, and the queen is protecting this. If you didn't see that and you play like queen h3, that's also good. Okay. They offer us a queen trade. Very important. Should we accept this queen trade? Yes or no? Whenever you trade queens, you accept that we will be playing an endgame. So we need to evaluate, is this an endgame that we want to play? Yes or no? So let's do that together. I take, they take. Is this an endgame that we would like to play? Yes, this would be an incredibly simple and good endgame for us. Why? We play f3, which creates a beautiful pawn island, 4 pawns connected, shutting out that bishop completely. Incredible. And we have this pawn island on the queen side. Our opponent, however, for them it's more messy. They have this red pawn island, they have this blue pawn island, and do I have any other colors? I sure hope so. I think I do, but I don't know how to activate them. Yes, green colors. All right. They have even, I don't even honestly almost have enough colors for them. Look at this. Like black has the red pawn island. I see this as 1 because it can be connected. Well, actually, this would be considered a blue pawn island. These can also be connected. And then the orange one. All of this to say black basically has 3 pawn islands here. We only have 2 pawn islands. The player with less pawn islands will be better in the endgame. That's something we talked about before. So, yes, we will be better in the endgame. Plus, we have 1 extra pawn, which is also an advantage for the endgame. The worst thing about this endgame is the fact that they have a bishop, we have a knight. That's usually worse for the player with the knight. But I feel like here it's okay, since we already have that extra pawn, and their bishop is not particularly good. So I just basically want to keep trading. I want to see if we can simplify this endgame even more. That is what I want to do. Maybe knight a5 could be interesting, trying to see if we can win something. This is one of those things, we can trade this here. We can trade the rook, but we also give them a very active rook, so that's not what we want. Here we will really need to use endgame strategy. And endgame strategy means that we want to start activating our king. We want to get our king as quickly as possible to the center. We also want to take all of the open files. Like, as you can see, the open files are in my control. So that is perfect. They take back. All right. I will need to fix my knight. My knight is actually looking incredibly silly over here. So I need to fix this knight. I was actually just almost having a heart attack because they can do this check, but we play rook d3. So Don't play too quickly. I mean, I'm speeding up a little bit here since it's just an endgame, but if this was a rated game, I would be going more slow because I don't want to mess this up. So now we have the next question. Can we offer them a trade of rooks? Would that be fine if they trade the rooks? Well, the answer is yes, because every single trade that we do brings us closer into the endgame, and we will have a very simple endgame where we are just up a pawn. They are trying to get me to repeat this position multiple times, which we don't really want to do, so we will have to figure out something else. Otherwise, this is going to be a draw, and we don't really want to get a draw, but this is going to be interesting. So we need to find a move so that we don't end up with a draw. Well, maybe knight here would actually work because we block the rook in, so that would work. Yeah, I think that's good. Bishop there. All right. Okay, we need to find good moves. I think what I want to do is I want to move these pawns up the board, because when they are gone, I can finally use my knight again. I can finally start using my knight again. So I will build this structure here, because if we have the structure now, the knight can move and it's not that much of a problem. I also think we have to be a little bit more active with our rook. So let's see what we can do. Maybe activate it here, see if we can attack them, and then try to activate our king, see what's going on here. All right. Interesting position. So I just attacked their rook and they just said, I want to trade, basically, which is fine. I mean, I take the rook, they take the rook, and we just have an endgame. And this is how I win endgames. I just keep going, I keep trading, I understand the pawn structure better than they do, and then eventually we win this. All we need to do here, this will be very instructive for those of you that are not that good at endgames. All we need to do here is we need to have the king in the center. We want to activate our knight as much as possible, and then we will try to create a breakthrough somewhere. Where will we most likely have a breakthrough? On the side where we have the pawn majority, meaning we have a 4 versus 3 situation going on. So this is really where we want to play. We want to play on this side of the board, since this is where we can try to create a passed pawn. Okay, I'll just keep playing on this side of the board. The funny thing is, since everything is on dark squares, I really don't even have to look at what they are doing with the bishop. I can just keep playing here. And all we want to do is we want to keep making progress. We want to keep pushing, because if you have a 4 versus 3 situation, you will always be able to create this, a passed pawn. This is a pawn that can potentially promote. So that is what I am trying to do. I'm trying to see if I can promote this pawn. I cannot push it right now, so I will need to activate my king, or at least try. I thought they would do this, trying to stop me. Okay, we will need to use the knight, otherwise it won't work. So let's get the knight in here. All right, yeah, that's fine. We do lose this pawn, we do win the other pawn. All of this is fine, and we will be winning this as well. The good thing is, when they have a bishop, they only control one color. So as long as I attack the dark squares with my knight, they cannot really do anything. And this will be fine. Okay, this is a very good example of how to play this endgame, because now basically we just have these 2 pawns. We just push these pawns and we win the game. It's incredibly simple. We just keep making progress, keep pushing, keep checking, keep going. Yep, okay. If they want to sacrifice this, that is fine, because we still have this passed pawn that we can use. All right, and they cannot really do anything here. So they are basically going to be in zugzwang, meaning they have no moves. And if we push this, they will just be forced to go out, and then we can promote. Sometimes you would have a position here where you cannot promote. What you do is you just sacrifice the pawn, you run over here with the king, and you pick up those pawns. And here I think I don't need to really go in depth on how to win this. First of all, there is a checkmate that's very easy with king and queen, but you can also just pick up these 2 pawns. Literally go and make yourself a second queen, and you should be able to win this. So please try out this strategy and drop a comment to let me know how it went.